Episode 37. What is your stance on marriage? Landing in Lagos, I got in touch with Aria's parents and made arrangements for their passport and plane tickets to London as Pastor Richard has asked. I left the pending processes with Sam and hurriedly took a flight to KB to claim my prize before it was taken away from me. I had never been to the north before, and this was my first trip. Regarding the experience, let's save that for another episode. Sam is a lifesaver. I have no idea how he gets his connections, but I'm glad to have him by my side. He arranged a car and a driver to pick me up from the state capital to Zuru. Dear Lord, the road is so bad. I vomited twice before reaching Zuru. Upon arrival, I was already feeling sick, but my driver doubled as a buckler. He got my medication and took food orders. By morning, I was back on my feet. I located Ella's home, which was not hidden, just a few directions, and my driver, my car, had delivered me to their gate. It took me 10 minutes to gather the courage to knock on the door. I was ushered in by a little chap, possibly 12 years old. The lad kept screaming, "Samis, Mama, it's Samis!" I smiled as he led me to their living room, where Ella's mom was seated. The resemblance was obvious. I cleared my throat and greeted her by squatting on the floor, learning fast thanks to Sam. The mom was welcoming and immediately served me and gave me a seat when I asked for Emanuela. She hurriedly dialed Emanuela's number on her phone, but she ran out of airtime. I decided to call. I could hear the excitement in Ella's voice. Even though she sounded disappointed at first, that was my fault, and I couldn't blame her. Rushing into the house and giving me a tight hug was not something I was expecting, but I felt the feeling was mutual. Not until I saw the man she introduced as Michael. My first thought was, Lord, am I already too late? I was a little shaken and disturbed. After a brief discussion with Ella and her appreciation of the gift, which I wasn't expecting, she went haywire thanking me. It seems like I had given her eternal life, but those were a few of the things that intrigued me about her. I needed to visit a few places. First on the list was Ella's pastor. If I'm going to marry this daughter of Zion, I desire to meet her spiritual father first. I feel like the atmosphere she grows in has the tendency to influence her personality, and even if it doesn't match up with my expectations, I know what to expect when I finally say I do at the altar. I didn't tell Ella the main reason for wanting to see her pastor, but I was glad when she took me to him. I was therefore glad when she excused herself to let us discuss when I asked her to. One trait in the people of this great community is their welcoming spirit. I've enjoyed open arms from the very first person I encountered to the Reverend of Ella's church. He made me comfortable, cracking a few jokes and expressing how glad he was to have me in their home, in his office. The love and honor and humility was contagious. Sir, I began when the tension died down. I came to seek your permission for one of your spiritual daughters, Emanuela to be precise.
I am glad you took this step, and personally I feel honored to have you seek her hand in marriage. That signifies your respect for the room, for spiritual submission and guidance. As much as I believe in God's lordship over you, have you been convicted about your decision? And has Emanuela also been convicted?
I smiled. My conviction concerning Ella can't be overemphasized. I shared a bit of this story with him and he was ecstatic. Yet he questioned,
What about Emanuela? Has she been convicted?
I didn't even know if she had, because I didn't approach her with the question. But I was glad that her spiritual father was mindful of the place of the spiritual rather than emotions. He didn't ask me how I feel towards her or how we first met, which I believe wasn't necessary here. our conviction towards our decision was what matters. I was more glad when he didn't conclude that I will make a perfect husband simply because I was a household name. Instead, he asked about my stance on marriage and what I think the responsibility of a husband entails. Marriage is the sacred covenant between two individuals ordained by God. It is a union that is meant to be a reflection of Christ's love for the church. That says Ephesians chapter 5 verse 22 to 33. God's purpose for marriage is to provide companionship, partnership, and support for one another, as well as to create a family that can provide a stable environment for the growth and nurturing of children. As for the responsibility of a husband in a marriage, they are outlined in the Bible, specifically in Ephesians chapter 5, 25 through 33. According to this passage, a husband is responsible for loving his wife as Christ loved the church, which is sacrificially and unconditionally. This means that a husband is expected to put his wife's needs before his own and to love her with a selfless, sacrificial love. He is also expected to lead his family with wisdom and humility and to provide for his family's physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. Additionally, a husband is expected to honor and respect his wife, treating her with dignity and kindness at all times. This was my reply, and I added, "But I would love to learn more and will appreciate any advice from you, sir." He smiled, walked up to me, and tapped my shoulder, then prayed for me. He requested if I could minister during the service the next day. He read my thoughts because I was about to seek permission to minister with Ella. With his blessings, I believe it was time to voice out. My fears were subdued, and I gained the courage and boldness to put things in place. Most importantly, my past records with Aria had been cleared, and now I was ready to move on. After my meeting with the pastor, I inquired from Ella if she would love to minister with me. I was shocked when she said no. I tried to persuade her into it as I could relate to her fear and lack of confidence in the act. Her outburst shocked me, as I wasn't expecting that, which left me wondering if I was actually ready to take the next step into settling with this woman.